Hey guys, Ambience here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to beat the Angry Ballet preset on the custom night of Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. Now, before we get into it, I'd once again like to let you know that I will be streaming live on YouTube tomorrow, playing some games and chatting with you guys. A large part of the stream is going to be FNaF, so be sure to check in at 3 p.m. Central Time. Now, back to the game. I will, of course, be doing all of these challenges on very hard difficulty, but if you want to try them on an easier difficulty first, the same strategies will apply. Since this is the first custom night guide, I'll go ahead and talk about some of the basics first. This has the exact same layout as the private room, but you will be playing drastically different depending on which challenge you're doing. There's also some core differences here. Each night lasts 6 minutes or 360 seconds, making it significantly shorter than the private room. Therefore, each hour only lasts 1 minute or 60 seconds. This is the exact same length as a night in FNaF 3 or 4. There are also now hotkeys for most actions, which helps out a ton. On PC, press W to close the vent, A or D to close the corresponding door, S to open or close the monitor, and E to issue a controlled shock. That's a new mechanic that I'll talk about in a minute. With these hotkeys, you can actually close the doors while the monitor is open. Keep in mind, however, that this isn't possible on some platforms. I believe that this currently works on PC, Xbox, and Switch, but not on mobile or PlayStation. I did hear about a patch coming out for PlayStation, though, so that should be fixed soon. Right, there's some basic information for those of you who aren't experienced with this game's custom night. Now let's talk about the specific mechanics regarding this challenge. First up, there's the Minireenas. You may have noticed that there are actually two sets of Minireenas on the custom night screen, and they have different mechanics. Minireenas will appear in Cam 6 and drain your oxygen supply, while Minirena 2 will randomly appear in your office after you lower the monitor and will block your vision. Unfortunately, there's no way to get these things to go away, they just stay there and block your vision for the rest of the night. Thankfully, they don't block your vision on cameras, and there's ways to play around them. They're actually not dangerous at all during this challenge, as you don't need to see anything inside your office, just ignore them. The other set of Minireenas will appear in Cam 6 periodically and will start draining your oxygen. Oxygen is a new resource in the custom night and can be drained by Yendo and the Minireenas. The oxygen slowly goes back up when it's not being drained. As the oxygen falls, the office starts getting darker until you can barely see anything at all. You don't actually die if the oxygen reaches 0%, it only affects your vision. You can stop the Minireenas by issuing a controlled shock by pressing E or by clicking on the button that appears just above the camera map. Now that you know how the Minireenas work, let's move on to Ballora, who's the main threat on this night and the only lethal animatronic. Ballora moves back and forth between both halls, a bit like Nightmare Foxy in FNaF 4. When Ballora enters a hall, she'll just retreat to the other one more often than not. Sometimes, however, she'll come right up to the door and force you to shut it to avoid a jump scare. Ballora can't come through the vent, so don't worry about that. Your only tool to figure out Ballora's location is sound. Most of the night, you'll be hearing music from one of the hallways. This has 4 different levels: silent, distant, moderate, and loud. Distant is the most common and can be ignored for the most part. If you can just barely hear music from one of the halls, there's no need to worry, just take note of it. Moderate is when you need to start paying attention. If you can clearly hear Ballora's music at a considerable volume, you should start getting ready to close the corresponding door in case she comes closer. As soon as the volume increases and becomes loud, shut the door immediately. Once the music starts to fade out, open the door again. It doesn't have to be completely silent. I usually like to wait until it becomes distant so I don't risk opening the door too early. The key here is to not shut the door too early and to not shut both doors out of fear. Headphones are really important here. You should be able to easily tell which side Ballora is on. A lot of beginners will shut the door as soon as they hear Ballora's music, and this drains way too much power. You should be waiting until it becomes loud to shut the door, and open it as soon as it becomes distant. This takes a bit of practice to get used to, but becomes a breeze after a few tries. Also, I just wanted to mention this because I know what some of you are thinking right now, and no, you cannot see Ballora on the cameras. Cam 1 and 2 are disabled for the entire night while Ballora is active. You have to use Sound the Tracker. Alright, now that we have all of this knowledge, let's put everything together and use the optimal strategy. You'll be leaving the camera on Cam 6 the entire night, as that's the only camera that the Minireenas appear on. You're just going to sit in the office until you see a warning sign pop up next to the oxygen indicator. Then you're going to flip the camera up, issue a controlled shock, and flip the camera right back down. The entire time, you're going to be listening for Ballora's music and closing the corresponding door as soon as it gets loud. If the Minireenas start draining oxygen when you have a door closed, I recommend waiting until Ballora leaves before dealing with them to save a bit of power. The oxygen will go back up and isn't hurting anything, so don't panic. Just wait for Ballora to leave, then open the door and shock the Minireenas. You can safely ignore the Minireenas in the office, just use hotkeys or memorize where the door buttons are. Something that I found out in the middle of recording this video is that you can actually beat this mode without using the camera at all. Just ignore the Minireenas and listen for Ballora's music while in the dark. This is a viable strategy and is actually optimal for saving power, but I wanted to tell you about the Minireenas first so that you know how to deal with them on future modes. Shocking them teaches good habits and develops muscle memory and game knowledge, so I recommend doing that anyway, unless you're having a lot of trouble with conserving power. Alright guys, that's about it. This preset is probably the easiest one in the game, but does require some game knowledge, so just follow this advice, and you should be able to beat this on your first try. I'll just stay silent and turn up my volume now so that you can hear when I react to Ballora's music and emulate that in your own gameplay. I'll catch you guys once the night is over.
Save me a dance for another day, perhaps.
Alright, there we go. Challenge complete. You now have 4 more stars on the custom night screen and have unlocked a new cutscene. This challenge involves very few mechanics, it's really just game knowledge and patience, so you should be able to easily beat this on any platform once you get the hang of things. Don't forget to check into the stream tomorrow at 3 PM Central Time, it's going to be a good time. With that being said, thank you guys for watching this guide, I hope it helped you, and I will see you in the next one.